Yeah, I get you do. I know you do. But there's an uncertainty there somewhere, isn't there?
Hmm.
I mean, don't accept when I say things like that. Don't accept them at point blank. It is a question, but I feel it's pretty certain that there's an uncertainty there.
Yeah, what am I expecting?
Mm. And again, there's a paradox, and that is that what you're expecting is inhibited by the fact that you expect it.
Hmm.
So it may be right what you're expecting, but to expect it is stopping you from getting it. If it is right, we don't know if it's right until it happens. But yeah. So again, what you're expecting, it's not the what that you're expecting, it's the fact that you are expecting that keeps you from, or that keeps you looking in the fridge,
Hmm.
looking for what you know is not there. So let's say what, rather than what is not there, I always find that a bit perplexing, because if you don't find something, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What it means is you haven't found it. And you may not have found it because it doesn't exist, or you may not have found it because you simply haven't found it yet. So you don't know that. But what is there? What is there are stories about yourself, stories that you've learned from the beginning of learning, from when you were a baby. You know, stories about who you are and how you work and what you like and everything you can think of. There's a book of stories, millions of them. And they don't make up the self, but it's the responding to those stories that creates the illusion of a self. So when you have a story that John Lee likes ice cream, it's that feeling of, oh, I wouldn't mind some ice cream. That is where the identification takes place. You know, that there is, I like ice cream. It is part of me to like ice cream.
Hmm.
Yeah. When in fact there is just a preference for ice cream. So if you look at it from a perspective of identification, and that identification is that feeling of ownership, that feeling of belonging, that's what's worth looking at. So how do you relate expectations to that? I expect, I will feel such and such, right? So it's not the feeling such and such, it's the I will part of it that is the identification.
Right. It does feel like a half step back kind of thing, and you like see everything happening from that perspective.
Yep, yep. Yeah, there is a definite objectification. So it's like then it becomes not personal. Like you
Hmm.
said about how you relate to other people, that you don't see them as, you don't take that as personal anymore, because you see them as operating
Hmm.
from their own identification. You didn't say that word, but that's what it is, isn't it? They're operating from their own identification. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the word programming. Okay. So what now?
Oh, we'll just play with those couple of things for a round, and then I'll come back with the final questions when I feel you can answer them to everybody's satisfaction.
Mm.
So if I was to present those as the final question, then other guides would come back with questions about those couple of things. I imagine they would. So I mean, it's kind of a bit of a construction, this point that we're talking about as a passing the gate point, because once you're past it, all this stuff will continue exactly as it does now, until you as you relax into them, they won't become an issue anymore, and you'll move on to the next thing. But there'll always be something, so you continue to do that.
Okay.
And that's where guiding is really helpful. As you guide, the people you're guiding will trigger things for you all the time until you settle with them. Yeah. See, one of the questions might be when you say there is existence and I'm just flowing in it, how do you know there's existence?
Maybe I should have used the word experience. There's experience.
Well, it's not a case of getting the words right. It's a case of, what do you mean by that? See, so once again, to say there is existence sounds like, and again, a lot of this is just wordplay, sounds like you're saying you know something that can't be known, or something that is in fact just a concept. So
Right.
that to say there is existence gets tricky. So to say there is experience, I would interpret that as you're describing some happening. To say there is existence sounds like you know something. You experience existence? You don't. You experience something, but and in order to call it existence, you've created a concept. Hi, Bianca, Louise.
Morning. I'm just going to wake up a little bit and then I'll be here. So to
No
speak.
worries. It's early for you, is it?
6 a.m. So it's early for me.
Mm.
Is it because there's nothing to flow with it? I can't. there is just experience?
Well, I would say that the only thing that is actual for you is your current experiencing.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not, this is not just playing with words, but it is playing with words, but it's not just that. If, if you say, I had an experience, you create a noun with the word experience. So you say it is a thing. But the reality is there can only be memory of something you call an experience. And the memory happens now. So when you relate to that memory, so that's right. So there is the experience of having a memory, of having thought. There is that experience. But what that's about is a conceptual thing. Even your memory is a concept because it's about something. It's not the thing itself. So current experiencing is the only thing that can be actual, nothing else. But that's a starting point. But the reality is that although current experiencing is the only thing that can be actual, it's overshadowed by thought within a couple of milliseconds of having that experience. So then we respond to the thought. And what we respond to the thought with is experiencing. But then that creates more stories. And then we experience that. So it's a constant flow of things that we can never quite catch up with. So even to say that current experiencing is the only thing that's actual, it's still almost a theoretical thing because it's not something that we can grab a hold of and measure. We
Right.
can't bottle it. It's just there and gone so quickly. But it's easy to see that that's the only thing that's actual for you. Everything else is about something. So we got to got to freeze time in order to get that picture. But then we recognize that, of course, we can't actually freeze time. It's always moving. So it's becomes theoretical again. So really the whole thing is about recognizing what is actual and what is about something else, about something, what is conceptual. Once that's recognized, then there's nowhere to go. There's no escape. There's just this, which is that constant flow of experience, ex, experiencing the response to thought around and around and around and around and around. But we're playing with what almost amounts to a theoretical place, because none of this is any good to us out there in the so-called real world. When you go buy groceries, none of this counts. None of it works. You have to play in the world of concept because that's where everything is. That's where the way everybody relates. But when we think that conceptual stuff is real, that's when suffering happens. When we recognize it for what it is, nothing's personal anymore. Not not from us, not to us. Nothing's personal. It's all just a happening. Then what you see here in the group a lot is people responding from a place of trauma, which is not right, not really the right way to put it, but the conditioning that creates, along with the conditioning from parents and peer group and society and all the rest of it, that encourages that conceptual thing and encourages us to take it to be real. So when people do have that starting point of something that we might call trauma, then emotions arise, and that's what they respond to. And of course, that's taken to be very personal. So to break the personal connection with that, generally speaking, we have to see what it is that they're responding to. And once they see it, that again becomes an impersonal thing. It no longer controls them, if you like. But people that go to LU they don't go there to work through that stuff. So if that stuff is so big that it affects their life, then LU doesn't work for them. They're the ones that usually will go away, stop. Some, not all, but some people. And some people will get through and see that, but still have that stuff there. It'll come up later. We see that a fair bit too. There's another irony, and that is depending on how successfully they bury that stuff. If they've successfully buried it, it's like it's not affecting them, but they've just got it locked away very tightly, so they can still go through the gate and see all that at that level. But then they'll find from time to time that other stuff will get triggered. Usually, with their family of origin, it'll trigger it. But it depends on the details, of course. And then there's some that they go through the gate and they do have that stuff, but it doesn't bother them. It probably either doesn't get triggered, or if it does get triggered, they have the having gone through the gate, they recognize immediately that it's not personal, but that doesn't resolve it. It just puts it away again. Sometimes it'll, if it's really deep shadow work, it'll just put it back to bed, so to speak, but it'll still be there. And they could either never go back to it, or often they'll choose to. When they recognize that there is something there, they'll choose to go and dig it out and have a look at it. That happens too. Yeah. And interestingly, a significant number of people, I could, without thinking of specific people, I could say I've easily worked with half a dozen who have actually been through years and years and years of therapy, and they know all about that stuff, but they still haven't. It's the effects are still there. Because when they know about it, is at an intellectual level. They haven't actually. They only know about the monster under bed there, but they've never shined the torch on it, so to speak, to see. Yeah, there's lots of yeah, go on.
I was thinking that it's like unrequited love. when you know so well, it's never gonna happen. But it persists. It's nothing to do about it.
So from you're never going to happen to you or by you.
What do you mean by me?
So I'm a little confused. So you're saying that unrequited love from you towards somebody else is never going to happen.
No, it's that I love this person even when you know that there is this desire
Yes. Yeah.
to
Now
be with this person, to have this connection,
yeah.
even when I know it can't happen. There are no conditions for
Yes.
it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that happens, there is great cause for celebration about the fact of feeling such a wonderful feeling, but great cause for misery in the fact that it won't be received or reciprocated. It's kind of like it's a double-edged thing, isn't it? Yeah. So when it's not seen in a personal light, when it's not seen that it's about some expectation or some potential satisfaction or uh, something like that, some conclusion. No, not a conclusion, but some expression of that. Then of course it feels like something's missing and something's wrong. The mere fact that it's there is something really wonderful and great, that there is that amazing, open-hearted, outwardly expressed feeling of something really nice. It's tricky though. What what if we wanted some kind of a culmination? What is it? What is it that we want? What is it that we're looking for? We're looking for the ability to let go, the ability to be really open, really spontaneous and open, and part of the expectation is a wonderful acceptance of that. No judgment, no opinion, just yeah. And of course, it gets tricky, very tricky when hormones are involved. So, of course, at one level, there could be, not that there is, there could be a recognition that the other person, the person who may not reciprocate, is just a trigger for all of that stuff in you or whoever. It's a trigger. It's not really about them at all. It's about yourself. It's interesting that it takes another person and that situation to help us realize what we are capable of. And it is an amazing joining. Rather a recognition of the non-separation. I have wondered. See, I'm an old man now, but I remember back when any kind of intimacy always engendered kind of a sexual response as well, and it wasn't appropriate a lot of the time. But the intimacy was, but not the this turning it into a sexual thing. It was interesting, and now I can see how that happens, but it doesn't need to. But back when the hormones flowed, it was. I guess it did always, big time.
Well, from my experience, there are also unrequited friendships. Not
A lot
only
of people are scared
unrequited
of
love.
intimacy.
Hmm?
A lot of people are scared of intimacy.
Um,
Why would any friendship be unrequited?
I well in friendship, well, there is this that people click,
Yes. And when they
and
click,
sometimes they don't
sure.
even.
Yeah, yeah.
and I wanted to click with this person so much. I wanted,
And they didn't click back. Yeah,
but it didn't happen.
yeah, yeah. And it's not that you can see that it wasn't a personal about you. It was about them that that didn't happen back. Yeah.
It wasn't either or. No, it's not about them. It's not about me.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. Yeah.
It just conditions.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's good to see. Yeah. Yeah. And and it's probably appropriate that there's some sadness about that as well. Yeah.
It's so stupid, right? But I could see all the conditions and still I was so much in this desire and suffering and sadness.
Mm.
What's the point?
Yeah. Mm. Like a flower about to bloom and the gardener comes along and cuts the top off it just before it happens. So what do we do with unexpressed love? It's still there. It still exists. It just has nowhere to go. It has no way of being expressed. And we can't just bottle it and give it to somebody else, can we?
Yeah, I think in me, but it's changed. bitterness. There is some, I can see some undercurrent of bitterness.
Mm. And what form does that undercurrent take? Is it changed from? Is it still that love, or is it changed because it's unexpressed?
Um, it changed with time. It does, like anything, it changes with time. But the fact that it couldn't be expressed gave rise to this bitterness.
Gave rise to?
Bitterness.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, that's what I was
Like
wondering.
it's I don't think it's right to say that love changed into
Yeah,
bitterness.
yeah. Well, I guess
Just this not expressing love was a condition for bitterness arising.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And is that bitterness directed anywhere?
No.
It's just there.
Mhm.
So the two can exist side by side. The love can be there and the bitterness can be there both. Yeah. Does the bitterness bleed off anywhere? Does it affect other things?
Mm. Oh, yeah. I think it has a lot of to do with how you know how I come out as
What's the love?
angry.
Sorry, go on.
Mm. So I often I hear from people that I look angry. Like there's some jadedness and sarcasm.
Would you say yourself that that is a result of that bitterness, or would you say that already existed? Or does it not, is it not you? Is it just other people's perception of you?
Um, no, I see it is very, it's not only other people's perspective. But it is all connected, but it would be too complicated to to make a map. This comes from this and that comes
Sure.
from.
But you were making some kind of connection when you brought that up, that other people see you that way, and I thought maybe that there was some connection, but that's maybe only part of the story.
Well, I mean that there is this undercurrent of bitterness, and there are times when people see it and I don't.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just because of your habitual way of responding, or your
Yes, because
feeling
this
sour.
is the baseline for me.
Yeah.
Now I wonder how much it is here now. I mean, because I stopped being guided, and it is exactly because I see there are no conditions for going through the fear. Yes, it's not. I'm not taking it personally in the sense of feeling guilt or shame or anything.
Okay. So Tyler is not guiding you anymore. You stopped that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm. I didn't know that. I hadn't been watching the thread just lately. Yeah. So do you want to start
Yeah.
the thread again, or do you want to stay stopped?
No, because I agree with him and with you. But there is no other way but to go through the fear.
But we're
And
not ready to do that yet. We don't know how to do that.
There were some the moments in my life when there were big changes, and I went through some of my big fears.
Mm-hmm.
Every time there was some push from within.
Mm.
But I would say like this, what that I can't live like this anymore. I just can't.
Right. Now that
And
exists
it would,
now.
and it was necessary to have this push to go through with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's
Yes.
you know, it's like trying to burn yourself with a cigarette, and your hand just
Yeah. Yeah.
you just can't.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah. So were those moments that where you did move through that layer of fear, was that on the forum or not? That was at other times?
No, much. You know, it's like when I quit alcohol. It's um, yeah, things like that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, big turning points. Yes, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah. But now it seems that the fear is too big to go through.
There is no push.
There is okay. Yes.
There is a feeling. Okay, it's not so. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel so well, but I can live with it.
yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, the moment you start to approach it, it becomes bigger and scarier as well. Yeah. And because it's not so huge, you can live with it. You can yeah. It's a discomfort that is nowhere near as bad as what it would be to go through it. So you feel the only way that you would get the motivation to go through it would be when you're in a corner and you have to, when you simply can't bear living with it anymore. And it's not like that at the moment. You can bear it right now.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like I was saying, I think from the beginning, it makes me very tired.
Mm.
Yes, but I'm not so much tired that I would say I can't live anymore. Like,
Mm. Mm. And there the the other um the other side of the push to go through it being that you can't cope with it anymore, it's too big, and you just can't keep living like that. The other side of that is the pull to come through it because of expectations that it will be so much better, and they don't exist. You can't imagine it being so much better.
well, the pool, I call it the scent of freedom.
The scent of freedom. That's beautiful. Yes, I love that. Yeah. But that's not
Yes,
strong enough to suck you in.
I think it's this pool that what I'm doing here. It's just
Okay.
following the scent of freedom.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
I will be coming to this meetings
yeah. 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 Yeah.
just to sit in this scent, and maybe it will rub on me a little.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Ah, we have to make the siren song sweeter. Hmm. Can you imagine a life where you're not tired from dragging that load around all the time?
Not clearly. It's I have comparisons with how it was going through other big fears in my life, and but there is such a freedom.
Mm.
Yes, it's like yeah, it's like fearing all the time. I have to be responsible. I have to be responsible, and then going through and saying, "Oh, but in fact, I am quite irresponsible." It's so funny.
Mm. Yeah. I was just thinking, I am totally not responsible. I don't know if that's the same as irresponsible, but yeah, irresponsible has a moral overtone, doesn't it? And yeah, but not responsible. Yeah, yeah, it's a good one. That one.
Oh,
Mm. But that that freedom, that's why they call it liberation. That freedom is just so sweet. That's the gift I would give to the world if I could. I just love to be able to dish that out to everybody.
so this is my unrequited love for this sense of freedom.
For that freedom, yeah.
And I can't go through the fear right now, and maybe there is some bitterness because of.
Right. Did you say you could go through that fear right now?
I can't.
Oh, you can't, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's conceptual, of course. It's a metaphor, but it feels very real to me that freedom will never reject your love. It will always accept it. It will always be open to it. It will be very inviting for it. Yeah. Of course, that freedom doesn't exist as a thing. It is actually the lack of confinement. And I have this image that all these people in jail don't realize that the door's actually open. It's not locked. Yeah. I just realized I have some grief about that. I have some grief because I have a story that it doesn't have to be that way. That is grief, sadness coupled with stories about how it could be. So again, there's some identification there for me. There is this idea that things could be different. When of course they can't. They can only be the way they are, whatever that is. Hmm. So because it's been that way in the past, that it's taken a large impetus to move you through the fear, that that desperation that I can't live like this any longer. Does that mean that it'll always take that to move you through the fear? Is there a possibility that some other conditions will line up that will allow you to sink into the fear, experience it? Of course, fear covers up other stuff. Fear is never the end result. It's covering up other stuff, but that other stuff that's pretty scary usually.
Mm. No, it's maybe desperation is a big word. It's not always like that.
Mm. Good. So other things could trigger it.
No, I mean this. I can't live like this anymore. It can be like a quiet conviction.
Right.
Some a gut feeling.
Yes.
It can be in much smaller things, like I won't be eating sugar anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like going through an awful fear,
Mm.
but even in these minor changes, it's mm. I just know the difference between when it comes really from inside, from body, from this gut feeling, and when it comes from the head level, that it would be good for me if I do some exercises every morning. If there is not this,
Yeah.
it won't work.
some of those smaller little could be just the thin edge of the wedge that enables you to go into that. Some little insights could be enough to open up a bigger thing. We're not expecting the big thing in one go, but the little things that lead you into that.
It can happen. Maybe this is always why I want to stay, to keep coming to these meetings, because I feel you never know, maybe.
Yeah.
Someone will say something and it will trigger something, and
Yeah.
who knows?
Oh, well, that's a good chance because that happens for lots of people. Yeah. So, yeah.
Mhm. Just for now, it's no use for me to push in this one direction.
That's good.
I would like to let it loose and
and see what
yes,
happens. Yeah, I like that.
keep it more open.
Yeah. And I always say, and I always see that working at it doesn't work. Pushing effort doesn't work. Yeah. It just strengthens what we push against. Mm. Yeah, being relaxed and open to it. And you are open to it. But my feeling is that you are open to little things that will happen. So waking up has happened, Louise?
Well, yes. Thanks for coffee.
Yeah, great. Coffee's great, isn't it? Yeah. Mm. So how have you been?
Say again, Ben.
How have you been?
It's, I feel like I'm on a fairground ride.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The old roller coaster, up and down.
Sometimes, but not always. I've just decided to let the hands go a little bit, like just a little bit off. Well, the last meeting that we went to, that we did, was it Sunday? When my Sunday, I was what came up was it's like an experience that I'd never had before, like the openness of the conversation, and like people were saying things that I had only ever thought, and like when I've tried to talk about those things in the past, it's like it's too deep, or we don't talk about those things, and that kind of really hit me. And somebody was talking about anger. Yeah, and there was some, I don't know, there seemed to be some relief in knowing that 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 can come out, like that can be spoken about.
Mm.
It doesn't always know what needs to be said, but it just comes out. And there was a huge relief about, well, you've got somewhere where you can be heard, you can speak. And then what I recognized is that I've always had this, it's like there's a person looking over my shoulder, and whatever I do, whatever I say, I have to second guess, and I have to justify. If anything goes wrong, I'm going to have to justify over here. I don't know why it's over here. And there's been like a bit of recognition around that's actually not, that's all conceptual. And there's some conditioning programming, but like it could be the smallest little thing, doing something in the house, but it could be big things as well. But there's always, in the back of my mind, there's like a cabinet of justifications, just in case, just in case.
Okay,
And
so it's valuable for you to not dismiss that as just conceptual, right? It was real, right? Not that there was an actual person there, but that you were that person. You were that person judging, being critical, right? And that's something you learned to do a long time ago, probably, but you learned to do that. That was conditioned into you.
yeah.
So we won't just flick it away as something inconsequential because it's conceptual. It is conceptual, but what's real is the way you used to respond to it. Now you recognize it for what it is. That means that you don't need to respond to it, but we'll see whether it goes away and stays away, or if it goes away and comes back. So we won't dismiss it as inconsequential. It was very real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're talking, I just realized that, because I've been doing the second set of videos on Peniel's website.
Yeah.
And she talks about the toxic starting point.
Yes. Yeah.
And like whatever this is or whatever I did, it is totally fear-based. It's totally fear-based. It's like belt and braces, just in case.
Yep. Well, it's more than fear-based. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but yeah, that fear.
No, carry on. No,
that fear covers up other stuff. So it's not fear-based. The fear is the end result of it. That's what stops you from going back and looking at it. But underneath the fear is something else, and underneath that is something else. And we're going to get right back to probably guilt. We'll go fear to terror to shame to guilt. And somewhere back there is the toxic starting point. The fear is the end result of it, a way of stopping you from looking at it.
I'm with you. It's the lid.
It's the lid. The fear is the lid. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I do some SE work, some somatic experiencing work. I have done for a year after I came out into recovery. And yesterday's session was about this side, and I got into quite almost terror. Like, it was just very frightening, and it was almost like a child. I couldn't talk, and sobbing, like a sobbing.
Yep.
And
it's
it just felt like a very small. Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah.
The other interesting thing is,
right.
I keep interrupting you. The other interesting thing is that right side is controlled by your left brain, and your left brain is all about control, right? So without doubt, that's going to be an authority figure over your right shoulder, approving or mostly disapproving of what comes out, what you say, what you do. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just go back to what I said. It's so lovely. It's what is it? It's not lovely. That's like a high level word that doesn't really mean much to me anymore. But
Yes, it's freeing, I guess.
it's freeing. It's really freeing to even be able to say this. Like I'm noticing that I'm telling you this without any, there's not this secondary, well, you shouldn't really be saying that. You shouldn't, this is this is personal, this is private. Beautiful. It's freeing to be able to say what I'm feeling. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And this is my wish is for the whole world to be like this. This should be normal, not the other bullshit that goes on.
Yeah. And I was listening to what you were saying before, that like there's this the other thing that came, just one more thing that came up this week is pushing this the very subtleties of, I don't like this, I don't want that, that's bothered, the little things. It was like they were really loud. Like I could really, it was almost like I was getting irritated by the irritations. Because there was I know that they're not, it's like, I went for a swim and there was kids screaming, and I was like, well, it's just a noise. And so I got a little bit tangled in my trying to push away, the pushing away, and so that was one thing. And the other thing was a real sense this week of missing a life that I should have had. It's like there's another life that I should have had, and there's a bit of sadness. And for the first time, I think it's grief. I don't think I've really felt much grief in my life. When people died, I don't know what happened, but I didn't really feel much. And there's been it was just real sadness and lots of stories, lots of narrative going on with it, which I could keep going and coming and going. Yeah. But it's not there now, obviously, but I've always had that sense that there's something else. It's something else. And the more I come into the present, and I touch things and I smell things, and
beautiful, yes,
and notice that I'm actually in La La Land, and it just automatically just clicks back to here.
The noticing does that, yes, beautiful.
Yeah. It's like a camera coming back into focus again. Yeah.
And the magic of things reveals themselves when you get out of La La Land.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's really lovely to be here and just open my mouth and just say.
Not have to think about it. Just let it come out. That's great. I love that. I do that. I never think about what I'm going to say. Thoughts often come up and precede what I'm going to say, but not because I'm planning about what I'm going to talk. I once had an experience. I was at a meditation retreat, and I was sitting there meditating, and there's these kids across a valley. The hill went down and up the other side, and the kids were on this other side of this valley to where I was, which was only probably 100 meters away. And there were all these young kids screaming and doing what kids do, shrieking and whatever, having a lot of fun they were. And I got really annoyed. I got really, really annoyed at the noise that these kids were making. And in the middle of being annoyed, I suddenly had this realization that if they were birds making all that noise, I'd be saying, how lovely was it? And because they were kids, I was annoyed, and I recognized straight away that it was what I brought to the sound that gave it the quality that
Yeah.
I perceived, you know. And after that, I was really enjoying the fact that the kids were having a lot of fun and that they were making exactly
Yeah.
the same noises that the birds would make if they were having a
Yeah.
happy interaction. Yeah, that was a great experience. That was a life-changing experience for me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because what happened is like the noise was like far away, like you're saying, it was far away and it wasn't very personalized. But when I actually looked over and looked at the children and I could see the joy, and that's where the sound was coming from. Like you said, it just yeah, that changed. That's the joy of, we've all been kids, and
Mm,
and so yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Well,
That was, yeah.
boy, don't we wish to be
I had forgotten about
unrestrained?
that.
We'd love to be as unrestrained and as spontaneous as those kids were being. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sounds like you're in a great place. You're discovering stuff, and it sounds really good.
Uh, yeah, it's really funny inside. I'm saying, well, don't talk about the negative. You mustn't talk about the negative.
Yeah. There's no rules like that here.
It's not. It has been. Well, as I said, it's a bit of a background ride. Um, like, he doesn't want to say it, but yeah, there's been times when I think I'm a bit of a weirdo actually, because I don't feel like I can talk to people about this stuff, obviously. And there is a lot of stuff. I've just gone through a relationship breakup, 8 years. I'm in recovery. I've just bought a new house, new job, all that kind of. So, but I'm okay. Like, I'm really okay. Like, just more peaceful than I've ever been. Um, but then there's this, sometimes just feel a little weird when I'm out. It's like I'm trying to join in now with other socializing. It's like I have to put on a little bit of a
Yeah,
play,
we get it. Yeah.
and even like when I'm having a normal conversation, it feels very stuttered, very like wooden.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, because I realize I've got to have some kind of boundaries. I can't open up.
Oh,
It's like I'm learning to open up and learning what I
yeah.
say, what I don't say,
Yep.
and those
I get it. I
appropriate.
get it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, it is a learning experience, right? Here you are now experiencing a world that most people don't experience. And so consequently,
Mm.
you start to talk to them about it, and they're just going to go glass-eyed and say what a weirdo you are and all the rest of it. They've no way, So consequently, there's that, most people around me, people that I know, friends that I have here, people that I go out to tea with, have no idea about this stuff. I don't talk about this stuff,
Yeah.
but I live it internally, and I guess to some extent it shows out externally, but they just write me off as a weirdo, and I'm really happy for that. I'm quite happy for them to see me as a strange person. But yes, there is a definite learning about how to live in this place and still interact at the grocery store and with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a brand new learning experience. But yes, don't yeah, you got to watch that you don't consider yourself fake or unauthentic, or uh, that there's anything wrong with the fact that you pretend that there's still a you running the show when you're talking with them and when you're buying stuff at the shop and whatever. You have to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's just the outer appearance for the sake of. So what I find, and this is a big one too, and it's a big bit of a trick here. What I find that happens with other people, and my wife and I, we go out to tea lots of Friday nights with a group of people, and not one of them thinks like I do. Not one of them has any idea. In fact, they're the polar opposite politically and otherwise to me. They're pretty, I can say, right wing kind of attitudes and so on. But they're all nice people. And what I find myself doing is I'm fascinated by how they think and what they hold of value in their life. So what I find myself doing is questioning them, and if they ask me questions, I answer it pretty straight. I don't fake anything, but at the same time I put it in terms that they can understand. So it's like it works for me to be interested in where they are and where they're coming from. Or of course, that is what I imagine to be the case, what I imagine they are and what I imagine where they're coming from. So I'm interested in that. So, and you'll find that it's really easy because people love to talk about themselves, so just ask a question or two and they're off and running.
Yeah, and that's relief for me, that I don't want to be the center. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I was.
yeah.
The old patterns were that I would always talk about myself because that's all I knew. That's all I knew. But it's funny you say that, because this week it's just been more of a relief to ask. Like, it's like everyone's got a story, like, and why not? Why not just ask some questions? Why? And it's like a relief that I don't have to. There's no me really to.
Yes.
It's kind of turned around a little bit. So, and I've always admired people that can ask about others. I've always seen, they're always asking questions to these people. And I realize now that it's just a natural curiosity that could just arise. Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't need any longer to confirm our existence, or we're not bolstering our ego anymore by talking about ourselves, and we don't have this desire to make sure we're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that weirdo-ness was mixed in with a little. It got quite grippy, and like, what's the point? Why are you here? But I used to get terrified of those thoughts, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's just doing its best to, and I suppose that's the conviction, isn't it? It's just that the more you see each time that happens, it passes. It like, feel quite neutral today. Yeah.
And so when those negative things turn up, and they will, of course, partly because they've got some momentum from the past conditioning and so on. But I really welcome them. They are really valuable moments for me to have a look at. So twice today I've discovered where I've done a little bit of selfing. And it's great. I love to see that. It's not that I love to see that it's there, but I love the opportunity to recognize it. And that just simply recognizing it changes it. So, all that negative stuff is not, we're definitely not about getting rid of it. It's about recognizing why it turns up. What got triggered, and we will continue to discover bits of identification going on for quite a while. I mean, I'm only
Mm.
what 12 years at this and still finding them. So I reckon,
Yeah.
another 12 years, what'll I be? I'll be 88 in 12 years time. So I reckon I'll probably still be finding them. Yeah. Yeah. I don't
And then
know
I'll
that.
be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
And that, well, yeah, and I suppose that was the other recognition. It's funny as you talked about that this kind of constant uh, flow. It's like before when I talked about the needing that there was another life. It's like I want to land. There's a sense that I want to land somewhere and stay there. And what I'm recognizing this week is like it was quite a big insight. Like that's just not going to happen, and that
No,
doesn't happen.
absolutely.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it is
Get used to being a
constantly,
sailor. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've recognized it before, but I really, really like got that. Like I really got that. And when you said, the negatives, then they'll come back. Yeah, that is life. That is this
Absolutely. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But when you start to welcome them, they're 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 not really negative. They don't really bring shit with you. They don't get depressed over them. You don't get feeling, oh, like that shouldn't happen or anything like that. You go, wow, isn't that great? There's something to look at. That's like it's better
yeah.
than Netflix. That's what I say. It's better than Netflix for sure.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just the ghost train ride, isn't it? Rather than
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the big wheel.
yeah. And we've got no idea what's around the corner. Yeah,
No, no. That's lovely. That's beautiful, actually. Really, and I've heard that before. Welcome, but in the context of what we've just spoken about, that's really, yeah. Thank you. Love this meeting. Love this meeting. Thank
oh,
you.
yeah. Me too. I'm having fun. I like it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I just get so much joy out of seeing somebody like yourself just being where you are. That's such a beautiful place. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where I am, but it doesn't matter. I just
No.
keep watching, keep listening, keep talking now. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And the crazy thing is that no matter what you say, you could say three blind mice right out of the a random thought that turns up, pink elephants, or whatever you say. Somebody's going to see that and go, oh wow, that was right on for me. That was exactly what I was looking for. Somebody will.
yeah,
It's just brilliant.
yeah. The anger conversation the other day, I was trying to think what it was so, I feel it was almost like privilege to have somebody talk from that deep place of anger, and for like the room, like the people there, just to hold that and
Mm.
realize that's not normal. That people either want to fix it or they want to put their knowledge into it, or their experience. And it was just a really, really, not. It was quite unusual. I don't really. I'm not in those situations very often
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
anger's
Well, it's
usually, I'm the person that goes, oh, I don't want anger, I don't want
yeah,
conflict. But
yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
beautiful.
intimidating, yeah.
Yeah,
And the amazing thing is that it's so prevalent. It's I imagine, now I might be wrong here, but I imagine that it's a particularly a male thing. But I'm sure a lot of women also have that same experience about anger. But I think a lot of males just have so much repressed anger all the time, that it
yeah,
controls their life. It's just wow. So it's not like it's just an occasional thing. I think it's very, very prevalent in our society because
yeah,
we're so frustrated. How how can we not be frustrated when we're forced to pretend all the time? You know?
yeah, yeah. Can't talk about this, can't talk about that. You must do it that way. And PC, socially unacceptable. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny because underlying all of that was that sense. I could really get in touch with what that feeling was. Like, it's no different. It's actually quite don't know what the word is, plain. It's quite, it's almost like a lot of the meaning around it. Like, it is a sensation and it's anger, but all the layer of meaning on top of that is I think what kind of makes me fearful. If I'd have known that somebody can be angry, but it's not aimed at me and it's not aimed at them. Yeah, it was just a lot of insights came from that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Can't
big
quite
one.
articulate it. Can't quite articulate it today, but yeah.
So I wonder if maybe beside the fact that people have this anger, is that there is also a conditioning that makes it that we take it personally. So somebody beside us gets angry, and even if they're a total stranger and they get angry, we get frightened because we feel like it's aimed at us.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, even if it's patently not aimed at us, we still will take it personally. We still get intimidated by it. And I want, it could be that it's a really, let's say, an animalistic kind of response. That we're the old fight, flight, fright, animal brain. The back here one maybe gets activated by that, and we get into a defensive situation as soon as we experience it near us. But I don't know. But yeah, it does. It is incredibly intimidating when it happens, and it seems to be pretty universal. Some people will respond with anger back. That's the case, but others will just cower away and just be, wow, I can't
Yeah.
cope with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then comes avoidance. You avoid situations, people, places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the opposite can be interesting too, that the time might come when it's appropriate to visit the family of origin, see if that doesn't trigger stuff for us. If anything will, that will. Yeah. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
where all the conditioning happened.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all changed. So, I mean, it's still work in progress, but yeah, I can be in a room where there's conflict and I just know it's not mine. It was amazing to actually have that experience that of all these years, 50 odd years, and it's not mine. Nothing to
Yeah.
do with me.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I mean, my parents are dead now, but I've actually done more work with my father since he's been dead than I did when he was alive. It's just
Yeah.
you've only got to think about him to get that triggers going again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So what do you reckon, John Lee? Is this making any sense to you? He's always very quiet. I got to drag him out of his shell.
Yeah, it's making sense. Yeah, it does feel like anger is a bit of a taboo subject. We shouldn't express it. We shouldn't feel it. But there's an inkling of like, I feel like there's healthy anger. Is it clean anger? Maybe it's like not destructive anger. Maybe it's just like,
Yep, I get
this is
that.
what I want done. I don't know. It gives me direction, maybe.
So how are you very steeped in the Maori tradition? What about the haka? That's a kind of an expression of anger, isn't it? You know? Well, it's not
Yeah,
anger, but it's what is it? It's aggression or something. Yeah. But one would presumes it's a healthy one, even though it traditionally have been meant to frighten the opposing side.
true.
It it was it's a manufactured anger kind of thing, isn't it?
Mm. I feel for me, it's kind of like I avoid any type of anger in me, and I don't. Well, I think I'm overly nice, so I don't need to feel that anger, or I don't spur conflict, then I don't get to feel it. That this was old me, or maybe it's current me, but
Right.
I've seen that now. It's kind of obvious. I'm like, why am I so nice? Like overly nice.
Mm. So do you feel it's not authentic?
Yes, yeah. I can be nice, yeah, and authentically nice, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Sometimes that's appropriate.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's interesting. I can easily imagine Bianca being angry, but I can't get my mind to imagine Ramez being angry. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Mm.
I can imagine Rami's being angry. I'm curious about the haka.
Oh, you don't know it?
John, I know it, and I am curious. Well, from well, someone from this culture, how do they view it? Someone who does haka.
Mm.
Mm.
I
I
don't
don't,
know
I
if John Lee's from that culture. He looks like he is, but I don't know if he actually is.
no, I don't do it. Um,
You don't like it? Oh,
no, I don't like it or hate it. It's just something that occurs whenever there's like a special event or something. I don't know.
so it doesn't click with you.
Yeah, yeah, not really. No. How you going, Dennis?
Morning, everyone. Hey, John. Yeah, just still trying to wake up. I had the intention of setting the alarm for 6 to be here for the start, but just so tired lately.
Mm-hmm.
I was enjoying listening to the conversation, so the last, was it Louise said something about like a desire to just land somewhere. That really struck me, and that's not the case. Just felt like I'm always trying to find my feet.
So the desire to land somewhere, is that because you need a rest? Is it because it's exhausting?
Yeah, it kind of feels a bit like that. Yeah, I've had a lot of time off. It's psychological, I think. It's psychological.
Interesting that psychological has physical effects.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Um,
So you're about to go back to work, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, that's strange. It's such a paradox. Like, feels like the worst possible time. There you go. I'll show up and see what happens. It was good after the kind of anger the other day, just allowing it to be there in a kind of very simple way. And the reaction it had to Paul felt like, I know Paul was doing the inquiry, like, what's under it? And I was like, don't you dare dismiss this anger. I felt good in a very simple way. And then yesterday I was driving along in the car with my wife, and there was just some subtle shift in the torso and the body. There was some energy. And it was like, oh, if I'd got this before, this would be the start of a panic attack. And the mind would be saying all these terrible things. But in that moment, it was just sensations, and thoughts were just like, were not being allowed to come up. It was just sensation, kind of a coolness, shift, feeling a bit disorientated. And then just, it passed, and I kept going. We were going to the shops just to do some shopping, get some food. I just thought that was kind of interesting, the difference.
Mm, that sounds good. Yeah. So did you share that with your wife?
Oh yeah, in the moment, yeah, exactly. I did, yeah, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Verbatim, like I did now, yeah. It was a strange feeling.
Yeah, that's good to be able to do that. That's really good to be able to do that. Yeah. Kind of like it cements them in a bit when you can express it like that. So when you say
Yeah,
thoughts you weren't allowed to, I'm imagining that what you're saying is that you simply didn't engage with those thoughts. Did you feel like you were
yes,
pushing them away, or were you just not getting hooked by them?
not engaging with them, and they were very dulled and quiet.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't gather energy to be overwhelming.
Yeah, great, right.
And it actually reminded me of, I think it was that morning or was it the morning before? Anyway, it was after all this kind of anger stuff, the other session that I was out the back talking to her, and I was like, oh yeah, feeling pains in my torso and chest and ribs and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a thought there. This is the big one. You're dead now. This is the big one now. You're going to be dead. And I was telling her, saying that, funny how the thoughts come. There's the realization, like, well, like, if you're going to be dead, you're going to be dead. Like, what's the point worrying about that? But like, these thoughts that you're going to be dead are more noticeable, but there's a distance between them, like between you and them. They don't have as much of a pull.
Hmm.
And then, as I say that, I'm back to that discomfort in the body, just a sense of feeling sick energetically, and just discomfort, and just want to go back to bed and fall asleep and just not be.
Unknown caller.
Mm. It's like you're just gonna have to be willing to be uncomfortable. I suppose that's why I come on these calls, to sit here and talk and just feel that uncomfortableness. It's a space to do it. I did a good bit of TRE as well yesterday, Vince. I just got down on the floor and did a good bit. And remember when I started that, maybe the start of this year. I could only do a little bit here and there, and I resisted it terribly up to recently. Then I started hearing people talk about Chris Guzman, and she would say to people, "You need to do more than you think you need. That you need to do it." Because I stopped doing it. I've been doing it more lately now, and I know it's not just in the legs, it's in the body, torso, the chest, the shoulders, the arm, the neck. So it's kind of the shake is everywhere. And then when I stopped doing that, there's just this like electric energy or static everywhere. Like my jaw's vibrating, everything's vibrating. So that's another thing I'm doing, just to see about releasing the energy or moving it along or shifting it.
Mm.
But I find that can be disorientating afterwards. Like it's kind of why I stopped it. One night I woke up, I couldn't breathe. It was just, you get headaches from it and things like that. So I got that book someone mentioned, The Internal Family System. They mentioned a particular book, and it's just arrived. So I'll start reading that as well. You kind of feel like you're at war and you're in a bunker and you're planning, these battles and all the things you're going to do to win this war. You're hitting things on all the different fronts.
Well, it's a good description. It is. There is a war going on, but it's kind of internal. But yeah, it's definitely a war. But I was going to ask you about those feelings in the body. Do you have a sense that those feelings are I don't quite know how. I'm not sure what I'm asking, but are they achieving something positive? That's what I get. I guess what I'm ask. What I ask. Do you have a sense that they are? That they feel that do you have a feeling that they are? Do you imagine that they are? I don't know. No, just that sense of. Is it the? Are they on your side of the army or the other side?
Yeah, no, it is. It's an interesting question, and I can see. I'm trying to get to where you're at with it. What I would say is it doesn't feel bad, right? There's no negativity around it. I'm not afraid of it. It's not something I'm considering negative. It's an aliveness. Um, Maybe I would say there's a bit of a feeling of a homecoming. Um, like as an example, when I finish and I lie there and the vibration is everywhere and this kind of, let's call it static electricity, because it's in the body but it's also around the body, and I feel it in my jaw, this sort of vibration, this hum. I feel lovely, and I'll know about, like, I'll have the thought about, because I clench and have done for a good few years now, a long time, the jaw, kind of teeth and things like that. And there is the thought that, oh, this is definitely good for that. This is helping to release tension in the muscles of the jaw and neck. That's kind of what I'd say about it, Vince.
Hmm. So what about the tension in the jaw and the neck and the torso before you do the TRE? Is that whose side is that on?
I don't notice it before I do the theory.
Okay. Yep.
The clenching thing really only affects me at night. like I did notice a while back, a couple of weeks back, the neck tension getting tighter and tighter, and even turning the neck. And I'd go for the odd chiropractic adjustment, and I'd get a bit of relief, but it would come back straight away. And I was like, okay, there's definitely something happening here energetically. I wasn't worried about it, but I was saying, okay, there's something going on here. I'm getting tighter and tighter. And then it's different now. It's not as tight. I'm doing the theory. I'm doing some yoga. Um, and these conversations and these meetings, I think it's all part of processing something.
Mm. Well, that would
Like it
definitely.
feels like it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, it feels like it's going in the right direction, if there is a right direction.
Mm. So appreciating that it's not it's not just a case of getting rid of that tension. It's a case of getting rid of the reason why it's there.
Yeah, definitely. That feels more at the root, what you said.
Yeah, whatever triggers it. Yeah.
And I know the body's tense and it's been more tense. And I can talk about the stories around maybe why that is. And kind of like tight mind, tight body.
Mm. Yeah. None of which, of course, you can control. So it is a case of just being aware of it.
Yeah. I've just had a memory of a couple of years ago, maybe let's say 4 years ago, getting a massage, and it was like the person was massaging someone else's body because I couldn't feel it.
Right. Mm. So this has been pretty much a lifelong thing, eh?
But it's the funny thing, I always thought I was in my body. I always felt like, oh, I am embodied. Not that I would have put it that way, but I did martial arts for years. I was always moving my body. It felt like I was some way managing an energy in me. I think the martial arts was a healthy outlet for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
without
I was
that.
like, I was never into the fighting aspect or the competing aspect. It was more like we very quickly got into this, what I'm going to call the mystical aspect of it, the
Mm-hmm.
hidden energies, the Bruce Lee 1 inch punch, the
Yep.
sort
Yep.
of
Mm.
real disciplined part was something that attracted me to all that.
So without doubt, it's contributed to your body awareness.
Yeah, and contributed to keeping the body healthy and moving and allowing energies to move through it in a sort of a disciplined way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it feels like it's more, I don't know, that sense of collapse,
Say that one again.
a sense of being collapsed.
Collapsed. As in not holding it up anymore. How do you mean collapsed?
Yeah, like the physical body collapse.
Yep.
Um, like I was going to say, it's like being spiritually tired or spiritually exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a desire to get out and run, and there's a desire to go to the gym and get fitter, and all these desires. And it's like it's saying, no, we're done. I'm bollocks. And it's kind of like, yeah, but that's who I am. I can feel that uncomfortableness rising in my back. I feel like an energy that's started creeping up. And I'm describing it as uncomfortable, but
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you what it might be wanting to tell you?
I don't know yet, Vince. All I can say is I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting a memory. Kind of someone pinching my shoulders or pushing down on my shoulders. That's what came first, and then the memory of being 13 or 14 and on a kind of camping trip with the scouts and being pushed underwater by one of the other fellas
Mm-hmm.
in the pool. And thought I was drowning and panicked. So maybe it's connected to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good to trust those kind of things without ascribing any meaning to them. Just that's what's turned up.
Yeah, I'm just acknowledging that. Yeah, because in the past you might have said, that's nothing. Can't be that, or it's not that. But who knows? Like maybe something like that causes a being to, in part, leave their body to protect itself. Then last night, actually, one of the, I think it was it Louise who was talking earlier? She said she started to watch Pernilla's Better 2 stuff. And I did the exact same thing last night. Pernilla has a playlist of Better 2 stuff. I was going through all that doubt.
Mm.
And it's funny that I was listening to a good 3 hours of it. I don't know if I was getting it. But then I was like, yeah, I'm not sure what she's saying. She's not really saying that, and I'm not getting it. keep listening, but I'm not. And I was like, but is that doubt?
Yeah, interesting one, doubt. Yeah. How would you cope with doubt, David? How would you handle doubt?
Depends a little bit where we are at the moment to moment. But I think the best way to deal with doubt is to how do you say, to avoid it, to go around constantly around doubt, because when you go straight on, it's almost unbreakable, because the system of belief that entertain doubt, it has a logic within itself in a way. So you cannot its logic is perfect. So you can so it's very difficult and almost impossible to logically dismantle doubt. There is some path, but it's almost impossible, because the nature of the mind, its logic is perfect from its perspective. So what do you do, you know? So I think one of the best ways to go into direct experience and to talk about how experience unfold and things like that. But trying to reason with doubt, there is a time for that, but at some point it's impossible to reason. And doubt is a part of the mind, so it will kind of always be there in a way, because it's a part of, if you feel that you are a human, there will be some level of doubt somehow. That's my perspective.
Mm.
But one way you can approach it, it's you can take some principles and try to dive in. Like if you take cause and effect, the perspective of of the mind is to say there is a physical body, and the physical body perceive things, and those things affect you emotionally and painfully, and so the body is causal, the body causes things. But when you explore, if it is true, you often find out that it's not really like that. It's often the opposite. It's your mind, whatever the mind is, but it's whoever you are, you know, there is something who kind of reject or interpret or superimposes a meaning and emotion into experience, which is not, it's very different from the story that the person have, you know. Like if you feel tension and you feel, oh, I hate this tension, there is a supposition that, for example, because there's a tension, I feel this emotion. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's because you want to feel this emotion, you feel this tension. So in a way, like you said, at some point you don't have to deal with tension, you have to deal with emotions and beliefs. Even though there is a place to do yoga and sport and whatever, it's not one or the other, but it's a different approach.
I'm tempted to ask you if that made sense, Dennis, but that we just talked about it not being a logical thing. How did you respond to David's?
Yeah, no, I was just listening carefully, and I really don't know what he said. Or it doesn't have meaning.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not valuable.
Yeah, we're looking to hit a spot though. Yeah. I mean, Pernilla talks about two types of doubt. She talks about the intellectual and the emotional doubt. So the intellectual is certainly is the one that David was referring to, where it has its own perfect internal logic that's just irrefutable. That's for sure. Yeah. And the emotional doubt is that feeling that it's not right, that something doesn't fit. But of course, they
That,
can't be separated either. Yeah.
but that second one definitely resonates more
Mm.
for me. If it doesn't feel right, it can't be right.
Mm.
And you kind of say, well, I don't have to trust thoughts. And I've seen thoughts, they're just thoughts. Like, so, but feelings, that's a different kettle of fish now altogether.
Okay. Yeah.
Feelings don't lie. Feelings are just feelings.
Well, it's true to say that your body doesn't lie, in that your body will reflect accurately what is going on for you. But but what is going on for you will be the results of your beliefs. So the body doesn't lie about what it believes, but what it's telling you can be a lie. So that's a bit tricky, isn't it?
Well, the
So
way I would put it is that the body has feelings and sensations, but how we interpret them can be
yeah,
wrong or incorrect, and then cause us to push the feeling back down or the sensation away. Or like
yep.
I was saying at the start, I don't feel good as a sensation or feeling. It just feels thick and that's
The
just
way
relatable.
the way I try to approach my body at the moment, it's because that's how I perceive it more and more. It's my experience is an expression of my system of beliefs, literally. Like I believe I'm a person, so there we go. There you have a perception, you have sensation, there's a word, there's stories, but it's literally a projection of the mind. It's like when you see something, it's a choice. Like literally the five senses. It's somehow it's like a dream, right? You choose to perceive your experience as it is, not in a simple way, but it's kind of it appear because it's like a projection of your system of beliefs. From that story, the body represents is a not the body, more sensations are the most accurate things there is, almost.
Yeah, you said something there, David. It really jumped out. Like, if I believe I'm a person, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, like, I mean, I definitely believe I'm a person.
Yeah, me
So,
too. But yeah, sorry. Then
So would we be more accurate if we said you believe you're a human?
eh, you could say that, but to maybe to say it my way, I'm a separate individual.
Yeah.
but you are, in a way. So that I think one of the dilemma is the tendency to want to be absolute about things, but reality is not absolute. Like it's more like, for example, I am not my hand, right? This is not me, but in a way it is, right?
It is
But
you,
so So it's kind of both, right? It's more, I think it's more useful to perceive like I am more than that. Like, oh, yeah, I'm not yeah, I am my hand, but I am more than my hand, right? I am both hands and maybe the arms and the whole person. Yeah, but it's kind of one aspect of what's happening. But what else is there, you know? So it's not, I cannot say absolutely I'm not a person, but I cannot say also, I cannot say with absolute truth that I'm not a person. Because if someone enters the room and say my name, I will say yes. But so who answer, you know? So in a way, it's to say is one or the other or some or to discourse, you know, like there is no person. The person who said that is saying this, right? So at some point, it's it's more like, you know, the Russian dolls, you know, there is a small one in a big one in a big one in a big one in a big one. It's just like the Russian dolls goes infinitely small and infinitely big. So every level you say you are something is true from that perspective, but it's not true from another. So
Yeah.
it's both, and I think this is where doubt arises, because mind say no, but it cannot be both. It has to be one or the other. But reality say it is both.
There's this, the dilemma is almost artificially created, because when we start this journey in the beginning, we're debunking the value of thought, and in so doing, we artificially inflate the value of sensation, of feelings, sensations and stories. So we inflate the value of what the body tells us. But ironically, there's a distinct connection between thought and body, and as David's saying there, that we have the body will accurately reflect its beliefs, which come from thought. So there's a circular thing. So once we've got to the point where we recognize that thoughts have led us astray for most of our life, we need to then debunk the artificial value we gave to the body, because it also leads us astray in a way that our mind did before. So in the end, we can't believe anything. There's nothing to believe. No, not our body, not our thoughts. Nothing can be believed. It all is absolutely subjective, so much so that it will always reflect what's going on for it. And so those words that David said earlier that was really important was that, you know, there is this tendency to get sucked into the absolute, to start believing what is actually there. So when we say we're a person, all we can really say is we have an experience that we ascribe meaning to, called a person.
But I think it's the debunking. There is a very, very strong belief and therefore experience that there is thought and there is sensation and there is perception, and there are three different categories, which is in a way true.
Yeah.
But when you
also,
explore everything, it's mental. Everything is thinking, thought, in the sense that it's present, but it is impalpable. You cannot really hold it in that way. Like a sensation is present, but you cannot really find it very specifically. So when you go out into, you stop with thought, you go into sensation, and when you go deep into sensation or perception, it's the same. You find out that the three belong in one category, which is experiencing, which is this unnameable thing that is here, but you cannot really find it. And that's why I think it's important, and I say often that it's the nature of what is present that is essential. Because, yeah. This is it's very interesting.
I'm I'm feeling I have another job to do that's getting a little bit insistent as well. He's I can either leave you guys to it or we can finish for the day, whatever you want. Seems a little bit abrupt to just finish it, but it always seems like that at the end. Yeah, I just want to say, particularly to you, David, and also to you, John Lee, I guess, that the idea of a landing place, you know, that of somewhere to say, well, we're there, is never actually going to happen. Well, yeah, no, it's there's always more, put it that way. And so there's no point where we can say, well, you know, I'm anywhere. You can't say that. It just, yeah, it's a progression forever and ever. So here's an interesting one, the perspective that first fetter is basically recognizing no self. The second fetter is doubt. And isn't it interesting that we can talk about it like that, like there's a progression. So when we see there's no self, after that, we can have doubt. But guess what? Doubt says, oh, well, we haven't seen that there's no self. So it's a bit circular there too as well. So the idea that we can see that there's no self running the show, and then we can have doubt that we're awake. Now we don't have doubt that that we've seen that there's no self, but we have doubt that we're awake. So there's an interesting one that just came to mind then. So let's have a look at the doubt when it turns up. What is it doubt about? Yeah. Is it that there is a self running the show? Or is it something else? Yeah. So anyway, I'll leave you with that and we'll come back to that the next time. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye.